the Monday edition. Mr. Irrelevant Alex Strouf, Joshy DiMaggio with you on this Monday after the Seattle Seahawks win the Super Bowl for the second time under the direction of Ron Wolf's protege, John Schneider, the general manager, wins his second Super Bowl. Different head coach, different players, and all the in-betweens, but still a Super Bowl win for Seattle nonetheless as they smoked is an appropriate word here, Joshy, right? The New England Patriots, that was a boring Super Bowl.
Yeah, it was a blowout, but the score was closer than the game actually was to me throughout the large part of it. Drake May had like sub 50 yards passing going into the fourth quarter, and then things took off for them with that one drive where they managed to score. I thought it was a very impressive showing from the Seattle Seahawks, who, quite frankly, didn't look that good on offense, but I think New England's defense is a lot better than people anticipated. But any talk of the Packers would have been able to beat a team like that, to me, feels silly.
No, and we'll get into what the Packers need to do this offseason because, we obviously spend, I feel like, a lot of time every offseason, especially once we know who the Super Bowl champion is, saying, okay, what do they do well? What don't the Packers do well? And how can they, utilize what is a copycat league and how can they improve? Last year it was the Eagles. They go out and draft 2 wide receivers in the first 2 days of the draft. They add to their cornerback room. They add to their offensive line, thinking that will be enough. And obviously they add a really good edge rusher in Micah Parsons via trade towards the end of training camp. But they did whatever they could to try to bolster and kind of copy what the Eagles did so well that led them to a Super Bowl championship last year. And now the talk will be about Seattle. And there's a common theme between both of those teams that the Packers haven't been able to check that box. And that's, frankly, just drafting and developing, which is such a mantra for Green Bay. And we'll dive into that in a bit. But, I was impressed by Seattle, man. That defense was really good. The game was slow, and it was a slow burn. And to be real honest with you, Josh, I really thought Jason Myers should have won the MVP.
I think the only thing holding him back really is the fact that his field goals were all relatively short for today's NFL.
Sure, but what was it, like 16? It was more than that. It was how many of their 29 points did he score? They scored 2 touchdowns, so whatever 29 minus 12 is. 17. He scored 17 of their 29 points.
Yeah, he had he set with the playoffs in the Super Bowl, he set the all-time single season scoring record, which I think is impressive. But when you have a guy that accounts for so much of the offense.
And that's KW,
and Ken Walker, I do think he was deserving. I do think it would have been fun to have a kicker. I think if he makes a 50-yarder,
it's a different conversation.
Yeah, and I think we're having a different conversation.
Say this, though. This will make you feel old. That was the first running back in my lifetime to win a Super Bowl MVP.
Last one was when the Packers lost the Super Bowl, huh?
Terrell Davis.
Yes.
And I was born later that year.
Yeah.
So, yeah, first running back.
It doesn't make me feel so bad because that's my first sports memory.
Was that Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Oh, so you don't remember when they won, but you remember when they lost?
I remember pieces of them winning.
How old were you?
8, 9, 10, like that range. Yeah. 8 or 9. Yeah. So I remember the loss more than I remember the win. I obviously remember the win just sort of as a whole and the stuff I've seen from it since then. But the loss sticks out in my mind way more, which is might explain a little bit about me and the way I am.
Yeah. I think that adds up. Negative Nelly.
Yeah.
Although I will say this, I'm flipping the script today. I'm going to go negative.
Oh, wow. We'll see how long this lasts.
We've got a lot to get into, and I think it's going to be mostly negative, actually, when it comes to the Packers. But let me be the first, maybe not the first, but let me be the first to welcome all of you officially to the NFL offseason. We are now officially in it. We know who all 32 head coaches will be, as Clint Kubiak confirms last night. He will become the Las Vegas Raiders head coach. And now it's go time. We're about a month away from free agency. We're 2 months out from the NFL draft. And, teams will begin to finalize their coaching staff now here at this point forward. The Packers seemingly only have one slot to fill, unless I missed the news on their quarterback's coach. But no news there as far as I'm aware since Sean Mannion left for that Eagles job. Now, they did replace their wide receivers coach, hiring, where was he, Penn State? But he coached Christian Watson at North Dakota State.
Correct.
Did you see the North Dakota State news over the weekend?
FBS team.
I love that.
Chewy Son is OC there?
Oh, really?
or works. He's on the offense somewhere.
I know he's in staff. I didn't realize he was the OC. That's awesome. But anyway, that was kind of some random college football news to drop in the middle of that. All right, do you want me to start with my negativity? You ready? Or are you not ready? We've spent no time together yet today.
I'm born ready because I've been negative today. Just because of the way offensive line coach, sorry to correct it. He's the O-line coach. That's Chewy's son.
That's Dylan Chimura?
Dylan Chimura, yes. I've been negative all day. There's been some things going around online of some positivities. Mark Tauscher was positive. Jen Latta was positive. In terms of this team is close and could beat that team. Right. So I'm ready to get into the weeds with you.
So I heard this was actually what inspired it. We saw the graphic of how well John Schneider is drafted recently, floating around last night. 5
consecutive first-round picks that are all hits.
Yeah. And like I said, we'll dive into a little bit more of what that means. But yes, all 5 of them since 2023, by the way, they've had 2 first-round picks in 2 of the last 2 drafts.
Yep.
Or 2 of the last 3 drafts. But the Packers, the Seahawks, and the Eagles are the 3 teams that come to mind, right? This is the second straight year that an NFC team has won the Super Bowl, and 2 teams that the Packers could, in theory, measure themselves up against. Now, these are both 2 teams with multiple Super Bowl appearances since the Packers last one 15 years ago, but this Seahawks team is way different than the last Seahawks team that made it, and obviously the Eagles have made now 2 with Sirianni at the helm. But I think it's important to acknowledge how teams are constructed and the way they ideally would be constructed. And what I mean by that is the Packers have what I believe they view as their identity, and that is draft and develop. They prefer to draft and develop. And since 2023, which is really where I want to start looking at this, because that's when Jordan Love took over as the quarterback of the Green Bay Packers. Since 2023, I looked at the first 2 days of each of these teams in the draft. So the first 3 rounds of the draft. Since 2023, 3 drafts. The Packers have made 12 selections in the first 3 rounds. 12. The Seahawks have made 10, and the Eagles have made 8. Okay? 8, 10, and 12. That means the Packers, rounds 1, 2, and 3, the last 3 drafts, have made more selections than either of the past 2 Super Bowl champions. Looking at the Eagles, we'll start with, because they made the least amount of selections. There are immediately 4 guys. So 2 guys was this past draft, so we don't even need to focus on them. So it's the other 6, really, that we need to take a look at. And 4 of those 6 made significant contributions in the playoff run in the Super Bowl last season for Philadelphia. Quinyon Mitchell had two interceptions in the playoffs. Cooper DeJean had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl last year. Jalen Carter had 2 sacks and a forced fumble in the divisional round. Nolan Smith had 16 tackles and 4 sacks in that playoff run last year. Okay, so what that tells you, Joshy, is immediately the Eagles are drafting contributors that matter more to their team's success than Goody has. And we'll talk about some of the names he's drafted in the last 3 drafts, despite having the most picks in the first 3 rounds of these couple of teams. Over to Seattle, who won the Super Bowl last night. Their first-round pick this year was Gray Zabel, an offensive lineman out of the aforementioned North Dakota State. Gray Zabel got 2 first-place votes for Offensive Rookie of the Year as an offensive lineman. That's how good he was. 2 Offensive Rookie of the Year votes. Emanwari, their defensive back safety, Nick Emanwari, was there. I don't remember if it was a late first-round or a second-round pick. Regardless, he had 81 tackles in the regular season, which was 3rd on their team, and he had 4 pass deflections in the playoffs, including one last night in the Super Bowl. Looking at last year's first-round pick, Byron Murphy. He had 2 sacks last night. Second-year guy, first-round pick, high selection, high-stake pick, had 2 sacks in the biggest game of his career. And then 2 years ago, they had 2 first-round picks. You may know the name of one of them. It's Jackson Smith and Jigba. Yeah, he was the Offensive Player of the Year in his 3rd year in the NFL. Devon Witherspoon had 17 tackles in the playoffs and a sack last night in the Super Bowl. So these are, I just listed 5 names of their 10 2-day selections over the course of the last 3 years. 5 of their 10 names who made active contributions in the postseason. I am going to read you all 12 names the Packers have selected in the first 3 rounds the last 3 years. And I really only have 3 where I go, yeah, I think they could be good contributors in the postseason. Matthew Golden, Anthony Belton, Savion Williams were 2025. Jordan Morgan, Edrin Cooper, that's one I have asterisked. Javon Bullard, Marshawn Lloyd, Tyron Hopper. They had 5 selections in the first 3 rounds last year. And in 2023, Lucas Van Ness, Luke Musgrave miss, Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft, those last 2 names I have asterisks. So of the 12, I only have 25% of that list that I go, yeah, I'm really happy with those guys. Tucker Kraft, Jaden Reed, Edrin Cooper. The rest, like Javon Bullard, I'm happy with. But is he going to be a bona fide superstar in this league? I don't think so. Like the likes of Quinyon Mitchell and Devon Witherspoon, and even a Nick Emanwari, who made significant contributions here in his rookie year for the Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawks. So my point in all of this, Josh, is Goody's draft classes, especially the high-level ones, first, second, third round picks, have not been even close to good enough for this to be a Super Bowl team, to be a championship team in comparison to the last 2 Super Bowl champions in Seattle and Philadelphia, 2 teams that have not only reigned supreme in the NFC, but overall in the NFL, the back-to-back Super Bowl champions, Eagles and Seahawks. That's what my little research tells me, is that Goody's high picks have not been good enough, and now you're without a first-round pick each of the next 2 years.
I'm having a hard time not viewing that as a little prisoner of the moment. I think everyone's going to eat crow when it comes to Jordan Morgan. His lack of usage can be frustrating, whatever you want to call it, but they bleeped around and found out. They tried to make the kid a guard, and he's been nothing but a left tackle the whole time. When asked to play left tackle, I think he's been good at it. I think that's a franchise cornerstone that's going to be building for the future. Matthew Golden, who's to say that's not coach misuse?
So that part I actually do agree with. I think he'll eventually be a
Anthony Belton
superstar.
ended up being the starting right guard and was a revelation when they played him at right guard.
But again, it's still too early.
Yes, Lucas Van Ness is a miss. Obviously, the JSN portion is a big problem.
And Christian Gonzalez, by the way.
Yeah. Both of those I would view as relative misses. There was an interesting thing that happened during the Goody press conference that I don't think a lot of people cued in on. Did you see or hear when Brian Gutekunst implied that some of his players were misused and not used properly?
Yeah.
That seems to be a direct shot at the head coach and the coaching staff, does it not?
I mean, it does, but the issue with that is what's changed, right? And maybe we'll talk about
what?
This in terms of the coaching staff.
Oh, nothing.
If you want to talk about coaching misuse, then somebody needs to be held accountable for said misuse. And that's my biggest gripe with this offseason, which I'm not going to waste any more time on it because we've talked so much about it the last several weeks. But there's been no changes by choice in the coaching staff. And if the general manager is going out in front of the media last week and effectively, and again, I don't want to say he was throwing anybody under the bus directly, but it was implied.
Hard to read it many other ways.
It was implied. I totally agree with you.
And the thing is, now we're just boiling it down to the structure. Because do you think Brian Gutekunst and Matt LaFleur are aligned on how they view the coaching staff? I'd bet not.
And
a team like, who gets to call all the shots, hire his head coach, and do all the stuff there? John Schneider.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think John Schneider would ever take the GM job of the Green Bay Packers where him and the head coach are on the same level? I bet not.
I would also bet not.
And so I think that's a large part of how we end up in this sort of, I call it complacency. Ed Policy will argue it's something different. I think there is inherently based on the structure and how Mark Murphy decided to do things, and then Ed Policy has kept that way. It's been a problem, and I understand he can't really change it midstream. You can't just tell the head coach who was working one way that he's now working a new way, and he's going to be under the GM. But it seems like any positive change is kind of thwarted by the same level, same status, and the Packers have trouble making meaningful moves. Brian Gutekunst hasn't been perfect in the draft. I think it's easy to point to teams who are in the Super Bowl and be like, well, yeah, of course they had a good draft. That's sort of part and participle of being in the Super Bowl is getting young, cheap talent that way overperforms expectation. They provide a value. They allow you to work in the margins to add free agents. The thing about Seattle is they add players every which way possible. No teams have had more turnover recently than Seattle and New England. Seattle has used the trade deadline to acquire players for 3 consecutive seasons. The Green Bay Packers just don't do that. Obviously, they had to trade for Micah Parsons, which took up a lot of their capital. But Rashid Shaheed is part of the reason the Seattle Seahawks are in the Super Bowl.
Which was a great move by them.
His play on special teams, he wasn't even really a factor when it comes to catching the ball, but he turned multiple games single-handedly. And I'd say if he's not on that team, the Seahawks probably aren't where they are because the plays he made and the way he was able to change the field. The Packers haven't invested in special teams in God knows how long.
Right.
They don't care about it.
Well, see, now Brian Gutekunst disagrees with you because...
Well, he's Goody lies.
But I actually would say this part's not a lie, Josh, because they have brought in several guys over the years, and you and I talked about this, I think, off the air a little bit. They have brought in guys more than ever that are specifically special teams talent. And it hasn't worked to the degree in which he claims. This is where he lied, that he claims it did. They're the worst special teams in football the last several years.
Yes. Yes, in aggregate, since Brian Gutekunst has been here, they've probably been the worst special teams.
But the point that he made, which is not incorrect, is they have invested in it more than ever, which they have.
They've tried.
It just hasn't worked.
Yes.
It's a bad ROI if we're talking about investment, right? The return on investment has been, worse than when Dogecoin crashed, or when you invested in GameStop that one time, it popped off, and then actually they viewed that as super illegal, so they just returned your money. There's been no return on investment when it comes to their special teams. And that's the problematic point. While there has been investment, it's been a bad one.
Yeah, I also think it's different. Like they invested in Brandon McManus, and he's largely culpable in part to why the Green Bay Packers lost in the wild card round to the Chicago Bears. I also think they're like bringing in a Dallin Levitt.
Yeah.
Or Zane Anderson,
or
Nick Neiman, isn't really what we're talking about in terms of investment.
Yeah, but they view it differently.
They do. And much like I could be wrong about things I said, so could Goody. And so could Ed Policy. And so could what was the phrasing he used in terms of he's not making emotional decisions? What if the emotional decision's the right one, Ed? How about that? What does that mean? Just tell me it's emotional. Well, maybe, but the two teams that are in the Super Bowl have brand new head coaches. These guys haven't been around. Well, they've been around, but they haven't been with these teams for long.
Well, Vrabel's been around.
Right, I'm saying with their team.
Vrabel's been around, but yeah, first year here.
Yes, and they took a roster, flipped it on its head, and then they ended up in the Super Bowl. They lost the Super Bowl, but boy, would I love to lose a Super Bowl right now.
Yeah, well said.
There's nothing I would love more than to lose a Super Bowl. At least we got there. And to me, it feels like we're not sniffing it. And I think there's more reason. I point more towards the head coach and his inability to do the right things when it comes to in-game decisions, timely decisions, and helping your team get over the stuff Mike Vrabel does to like steal every second of clock and to manipulate the game to work in his favor to get the outcome he desires. Matt LaFleur couldn't dream of that. Couldn't dream of it. We almost let the clock run out. Let the clock run out in an overtime game where you couldn't stop scoring because Matt LaFleur didn't tell his team they needed to go fast.
You're lucky there's so much equipment breaking back here all at once that I didn't catch that misspeak, but continue. I'm not going to acknowledge it.
I think I said it right. It just didn't sound right. It's just, I think the Packers are further away than a lot of people want to look at. And, I mean, the big thing about what we're talking about when it comes to the JSN and Christian Gonzalez ones, I don't have an excuse for. Got no answer. Lucas Van Ness wasn't a starter at Iowa. He was supposed to be one of those projection guys, not there. But half of the other, and Jordan Morgan might in 3 years be a guy who everyone looks like, yeah, that should have been a top 10 pick.
Sure, but so far not so good. And that's my point in pointing out the Eagles and Seahawks specifically, because guys that are in their first, second, or I guess in the Seahawks case a little bit more than the Eagles, their third year, are making unreal contributions.
I mean, the Eagles, Jalen Carter was a character issue.
Right, but he was in the second year and he had 2 sacks.
But he's also not far away from being what we saw happen this weekend with the kid from Tennessee.
James Pierce,
Yeah, like you take risks there. And you have to figure out, is the character issue, is it something we need to fear? Is the kid going to end up with 4 felonies in his first offseason in the NFL? Or is he going to, for the most part, like Jalen Carter, keep things within limits?
Yeah.
and not excusing anything he's done in his past. It's just those are the type of things. Like, Jalen Carter was a top 3 pick in the NFL had he not had any issues.
Mm-hmm.
He was that talented.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they got lucky there. They took the risk, and it worked in their advantage. Rasheed Walker, I don't know if he should have been starting. I can't say that with confidence.
Yeah, I can't either. Who was it that said recently he should have won that job? Jordan Morgan, that is. I don't remember who was quoted as saying that, but
probably me. I don't know.
No. I think like somebody in the building said that. All things considered, he probably should have won that job. So who knows? We will see if that's more of a hit than we think. But I mean, again, I'm just going to rattle off the 12 names now. Let's just go rapid fire. Do we still have faith they can be something, especially in 2026? Matthew Golden, it's a unanimous yes.
Yes.
Anthony Belton, yes.
Yes.
Savion Williams? Jordan Morgan, you say yes.
Yes.
Edrin Cooper, obviously yes. Javon Bullard, yes.
Yep.
Marshawn Lloyd, no.
He's played one NFL game.
Which is bonkers. I mean, he's had the worst luck, but also it's probably just time to end that experience.
He has 6 total attempts for 15 yards.
Here's where we get an interesting name. It was it was a 3rd-round pick 2 years ago. He'll be entering his 3rd year. Tyron Hopper, right? Quay Walker seems like he will not be back in Green Bay in 2026.
Yeah.
So this is a name that could be elevated to a starter just because of necessity.
Yeah, I thought at times there was some good buzz about him. He looked the part, but also his lack of play and lack of experience showed at other times. Like, I have no idea what to expect from him. I wouldn't count him as anything at this point.
Lucas Van Ness.
I think he's the slowest build to a guy who's probably going to have like an 8-sack season.
Yeah. The slowest build indeed. He could be a contributor, but I don't think.
I think he'll have a fine season if he gets the majority of snaps opposite of Micah Parsons.
And seems like that very well could be the case if Rashawn Gary's not on this team next year.
Please, for the love
of God. Luke Musgrave, no.
No. I think it's very bizarre to try and track what happened with him. Obviously, those injuries as a rookie made the way for Tucker Kraft, who's been a revelation. And I think he's going to be like the best tight end or one of the 3 best in all the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
But Lucas Musgrave had juice and then it disappeared.
Yeah, because and obviously a name I'll get to in just a moment is Tucker Kraft, who that plays a role in it too. Jaden Reed and Tucker Kraft are the last 2 names. I have confidence in both those guys.
Yes.
So I guess maybe we're talking me down a little bit because a majority of the guys I just listed off, the 12 first 3-round draft picks from the last 3 seasons for Brian Gutekunst, there's confidence in most of them not named Marshawn Lloyd, Savion Williams, and Luke Musgrave.
Yeah.
And Williams is still, he's so young, he's an interesting piece who they clearly valued quite a bit at the beginning of the season when they were drawing things up just for him, and they weren't even doing that for the 1st-round pick in Matthew Golden. So that's a fascinating part. Now,
I think they were just justifying his roster spot.
I guess the part
if I'm being honest,
maybe. But the thing that still irritates me is we are going from talking about potential to literal value with Seattle, right? Like I didn't even mention one of the names that played a significant role. Now he was hurt for the last couple games, but Zach Charbonnet was a 3rd-round pick in 2023 for Seattle. That's one of the 10 names. I talked about 6 of them. One of them wasn't even Charbonnet. Same thing for the Eagles. I didn't mention, is it Jalix Hunt or Jalix Hunt?
Jalix.
Regardless, he had a big, I think, didn't he have a sack in the Super Bowl last year? Like, he's popped up for them at D end. So both of these teams have guys that have literally provided value leading to a championship. Now, I'm not asking for total game changers necessarily. That's what your Jordan Loves are for. That's what your Micah Parsons are for. That's what your Xavier McKinney's and Josh Jacobs are for. But you need other guys to step up and come through for you. And looking at this list, maybe 25% of them you have confidence can be really good players for you in 2026. The rest of them are at best question marks.
I mean, it's very simple to me. And I'm someone that doesn't believe the Packers were as good and as well run of a team as Seattle. And I think Seattle, especially their front 7 against the Packers offensive line, the way it looked at the end of the season, the Packers get smoked. They lose by multiple scores to that team, especially with the way they looked up front yesterday. But I think going into the season, And I think that the numbers would dictate this. And I think also the results we've seen now heading into next season, where the Packers have the 5th best odds at the Super Bowl, the Packers roster is plenty good enough. The people making the decision and putting literal odds on it and their money where their mouth is tell you that the Packers are a top 5 roster in the NFL. Mm-hmm. They've hit the quarterback position out of the park. Nailed it. You took a risk. You ticked off your MVP, which also made him play like an MVP again. And then you went out and got Micah Parsons, and you've done enough through the draft and through free agency, because it feels like a little bit of a straw man to say, well, the drafts haven't been that good, when you've also got like a massive hit like Josh Jacobs or Xavier McKinney, and you've also seen offensive linemen step in.
But isn't that just, I mean, and again, I think Seattle's maybe the hardest one to make that case for, because Kenneth Walker's a draft pick. Sam Darnold obviously was an external guy they brought in, but that's kind of it. I mean, otherwise they've done, really good job drafting and developing.
Yeah, but I mean, DeMarcus Lawrence was making plays.
Jaron Reed, actually, Packers legend.
Yes, yeah, they have quite a few guys.
The Eagles, obviously, too, right? Like A.J. Brown is a guy that they took a big swing on.
I mean, Zach Bond became like one of the best players in the NFL just out of thin air that no one had anticipated. Like, the Packers aren't as draft and develop as much as they'll keep saying that, and they think they are. I mean, just look at the amount of guys they're going to let walk out the door. Mm-hmm. They never used to do that.
That's true.
That was just not a thing the Packers ever operated as.
Well, I guess this text from Brandon in Tulsa on the Cardinals text line, 800-990-3776, says this. Brandon in Tulsa, feels like the Packers way needs to go away. How they do business does not win titles. It keeps them from losing seasons. That's all. I could be dead wrong, but Packers feel stale as old bread. Love that phrase at the end. I don't know if I agree with that, but I think there are correct things in the Packers way, and there's wrong things in the Packers way. And the other thing we have the beauty of here on February 9th, the day after the Super Bowl, is hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
We all loved the Matthew Golden pick. It didn't work in year one.
Yeah. Needed Romeo Doubs out there.
I don't think any of us loved the Lucas Van Ness pick.
No. I mean, strangely enough, I was telling everyone that's who they were going to pick. He just felt Packers. He was too big, too strong, too young. But even then, when it happened, it was like, well, I hope this one works.
Yeah.
It's just sometimes the Packers airmail who they're going to take, and you can just tell right away. And the one time they had a high pick that could be turned into something, they choked it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's fair to say. Now, could he blossom because he is young and so inexperienced and didn't even play as a starter at Iowa? And remember when people are trying to convince us, well, they run things differently there. It's not necessarily...
I do recall this.
Yeah.
It's about seniority. If you're a sophomore and you play a lot...
It kind of seems like he just wasn't that good. If we're not boiling it down and looking at it...
It really wasn't that. But I mean, a really long thing. But I thought this really long thing. But I thought this portion from Ed Policy and Policy's perspective was the interesting part. Football is an emotional game, and I understand the high emotions that go into a playoff game against our longest-held rival. However, in my seat, you must rise above emotions and analyze objectively an entire body of work to make a long-term decision that puts the team in the best position to compete for the Super Bowl year in and year out. That's the process I went through following our season. Candidly, over the years, I've grown to appreciate ownership groups that built dynasties through level-headed, steadfast continuity in lieu of emotional chaos. That's Ed Policy over at Packers.com. So, New England and John Schneider's been there forever at general manager in Seattle, but they just made changes. Mike Vrabel in his first year as a head coach for the Patriots. Mike McDonald in his second year as the head coach of Seattle after a long tenure with Pete Carroll, but finally, kind of like Mike McCarthy, they said, to use our word again, stale, enough is enough, and they moved on. I do think, to Policy's point, he's probably right in it's too early to say it's not working. And I know it's been 8 years of Goody, 7 years of LaFleur, but there's been some important turnover in the midst of that. You got to the end of Rodgers, you flipped to Love, you kind of did the quote-unquote rebuild really fast, right? It was a one-year turnaround after missing the postseason in 2022. Love finds a stride at the end of the 23 season, you win a playoff game, yada, yada. This year, if you want to blame a little bit on injuries, I'm okay with that. I don't think you can blame the meltdown in the postseason on injuries, given that you had the lead you did in that game. But there is there's probably some truth and some falsity to this statement.
Can we do a thought experiment here quick before I address specifically policy? Of Matt LaFleur's playoff losses, how many can you conclusively say Matt LaFleur didn't negatively impact the result of the game?
One more time.
Of Matt LaFleur's playoff losses as the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, how many of those playoff losses can you say Matt LaFleur did not contribute negatively to the Packers losing the game?
Okay. So San Francisco. Are we going to all LaFleur?
What?
Are we saying the entire tenure of LaFleur or just with Love?
His entire tenure.
All right. So Tampa Bay, he negatively contributed.
Yep.
San Francisco, he negatively contributed. Mm-hmm. San Francisco with Love, that one I struggle with.
That one I don't think you could put all that much.
And then same with Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
Love threw 3 interceptions.
Yep.
So I would say there's only probably 2.
It's 2, so it's about half. Yeah. To me, that's important. And to me, there are things that Matt LaFleur has done to hold the team back. What I didn't like about what policy said is he's using somehow not being emotional about it and needing to make like grown-up decisions. And I understand we always say don't make emotional decisions. You might regret them. But what if he's wrong? He seems to imply his lack of emotion makes him right. Or that if you think Matt LaFleur deserves to be gone, well, you're not looking at it logically. You're just being emotional. If Matt LaFleur doesn't win a Super Bowl in the next or appear in a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years, it's a failure.
I would say 2.
Yeah,
2 years. Right?
It's a failure.
It's this upcoming season and the following.
So, I mean, he's putting his reputation on the line as a guy who made correct decisions for the organization to keep them moving. I don't think Matt LaFleur ever wins a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. Don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to have all the talent to get there, and the excuses are going to keep running out. It's the defense. It's the injuries. It's whatever you want to call it. I don't think that time's coming. I don't think Matt LaFleur will ever win a Super Bowl with the Green Bay Packers. I don't think he does the right things, pulls the right strings, gets the culture of the locker room to the right place, and then when it comes to in-game decisions, he's losing them.
Yeah.
He's directly contributing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is the big difference here. He's a great play caller. Whatever happens all the other times, I don't know. I can't put my thumb on it because I'm not in the locker room. But clearly, when the players are saying, it feels like this always happens, well, why? What do you mean it always happens? Make it stop. Make it go away. Change it.
Yeah.
Your own players recognize it.
If only it was that easy.
Yeah. Other people figure it out.
That's true. That's true. But it's always something in Green Bay, and hopefully that's not the case. You mentioned it. Way too early Super Bowl odds are out at Potawatomi Sportsbook. The Packers 5th at plus, what is it, 1,500?
I believe 14. Not that makes much of a difference.
Now, the Bears are like 15th, which I was surprised to see. Jordan Love 9th in MVP odds for next season. There's only 2 teams at Potawatomi, at least according to their book, in the NFC ahead of them, and that's both Seattle and Los Angeles, the Rams. The Packers 3rd in the NFC, which makes sense. Detroit's right behind them. I'm sure San Francisco's in the mix. Obviously it's too early to tell, and this is something I said to you last week, but it's more on my mind as I read through this list, right? As I read through this list of the draft picks that are certainly not at the level of the other 2 teams that have won the Super Bowl out of the NFC the last 2 years in Philly and Seattle. This is the biggest offseason Brian Gutekunst has ever had. Maybe with exception to 23, but there was no expectation in 23. Right? It was, okay, you got to rebuild the roster now.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's the transition between a Hall of Fame quarterback, first ballot, and Jordan Love, your first-round draft pick. Like, he better be good or your job's at jeopardy. This one's huge for a different reason. You have so many free agents. You have a few holes to patch, including units, right? I mean, the entire offensive line, you got to figure out what that looks like.
How mad is everyone going to be when the Packers' second-round pick is an offensive lineman?
I would assume not mad. Would you be mad?
No, I
think the need for corners more prevalent.
Yeah, I just don't think the Packers agree.
Probably not, because there's multiple spots you need to fill. Whereas at corner, and we'll have an answer on Nate Hobbs by the draft. Will Nate Hobbs be on this roster or won't he?
Yeah, you only save like $700,000 releasing him.
So he's on the roster.
Yeah.
Right, so then you have Hobbs, hoping he can have a bounce back year, because he was not good in year one at Green Bay. You have Valentine, who hopefully he learns how to tackle. And you have Keyshawn Nixon, who ideally isn't your first corner or your first option at corner.
Uh-huh.
And then obviously Javon Bullard will play in the slot, but you have no issues with him. You need depth, and ideally you need a top of the line starter. You need a number one guy. And whether you acquire that in free agency or the second round of the draft, time will tell, or either. I mean, we expected more action at that position last year. So, yeah, if they go offensive line in the second round, I don't think I'd be mad. It's never the sexy pick, though, especially if it's your first pick.
That's
in the draft.
what I was implying. It's less to do with lack of, like, people thinking it's not a need. They just get frustrated when you look at a big chubby guy. And it's like, well, what if we got a cool cornerback
who's fast, ran a really quick 40 time? Yeah, you're right. It's the optics more so than the actual, I don't know,
usefulness or importance.
Yeah.
Because Tausch was talking about it today. The game yesterday was won and lost in the trenches. The way Seattle handled the run game and were able to create big creases, get Kenneth Walker some space, and then the suffocating nature of their defensive line. There's your game. Sam Darnold wasn't particularly good.
No, not necessarily.
Yeah,
made a couple throws.
But,
dude, the patience of Kenneth Walker, truly unreal.
You want to know what's funny about Kenneth Walker? Seattle hasn't liked him much.
No, not until this
because
year.
He's indecisive and he wants to bounce everything.
Yeah.
But when he's the only guy there and you let him do his thing over 10, 15, spring, there's a 30-yard rush. There's a 15.
Should have had that long touchdown.
But it's the portions of the game where they're like, just hit the hole, get us the 5 yards, put us in third and short, and let's move on. And he's thinking, well, what if I did something sick and took it all the way to the house?
What if I did something sick?
Which I understand. I get part of that.
Yeah. I like that mindset. He's a free agent.
Yeah.
Jason Wilde floated this. He's younger than Josh Jacobs. Might be a little bit more expensive than Josh Jacobs. Has less carries than Josh Jacobs. Has fresher legs than Josh Jacobs.
Oh, he's fresh. I've been pounding the table for Seattle to use him more than they have.
Is there a world where the Packers do what they did 2 seasons ago again? They move on from an aging running back who's got a lot of wear and tear. Now, he's been healthy for the most part, but he's got more carries in his career than Aaron Jones. Josh Jacobs does.
I wouldn't be shocked.
Now, Kenneth Walker's one of the names. I think there's another. Breece Hall from the Jets is also a free agent.
I wouldn't be shocked to see them go in either of those directions.
I wouldn't either.
I would be surprised, but it wouldn't be like I can't. It wouldn't be Aaron Jones, Josh Jacobs. The way I reacted, yes,
that was a shock.
The way I reacted to that in real time was like I couldn't believe it happened. But understanding where they're at with Josh Jacobs, I do think they value his leadership and what he means to the locker room, and the fact that he's a warrior, and they have to basically tell him, "All right, enough. Stop going out there. We need you to get yourself healthy. We appreciate how much you want to be out there." I think they really like that. I think they really like that about him, and I do think there's ways to restructure his contract, or even just give him a 1-year extension to make it a little more stomachable. Does that end up happening? I don't know. The Packers clearly want you could tell by the way they drafted A.J. Dillon, and then they went out and signed Josh Jacobs, and then they drafted Marshawn Lloyd. They want a 2-headed option there. It's just when it's Emmanuel Wilson, you don't really, it's not of different. If Marshawn Lloyd ended up being what he looked like when he came out of college and was this like explosive sort of bowling ball that like took contact well and then had the speed, I think the Packers would be over the moon about that. Unfortunately, the guy, and I mean, He's had like a ruptured spleen, didn't he? Or his pancreas, or like he's had all this weird stuff happen that's not just like, oh, soft tissue stuff.
Uh-huh.
It's been all these injuries where it's hard. And the best medical staff on earth couldn't have predicted what we've
Neil Wilson, I believe a restricted free agent.
probably.
And they like him, so I would imagine he's back.
I mean, he's not special. He's never going to be special.
Not as a lead back.
But he's plenty competent at the backup position. And sometimes if you need him to play the starter for a couple games, he can do that. I don't think Emmanuel Wilson's existence is going to stop the Packers from doing anything at running back, be it draft or free agency.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. All right, that's Packers talk for today. We'll get back to it on Wednesday as we continue to get into the offseason.
I love this comment. Wildy's the only person wanting Jacobs gone.
I don't think Wildy wants Jacobs gone.
No, I mean, that's just a classic telling yourself a story that you made up in your head and then repeating it like it's fact. He simply brought up the idea that the Packers are known to do this. He's as much of a Josh Jacobs guy as he was an Aaron Jones guy.
He loves Josh.
Right.
The other part of it is, too, right?
And all Wildy's talked about since the end of the season is the need for veterans. Well, what the hell is Josh Jacob if not a veteran?
Yeah. But the proof in the pudding is he wants to get younger, specifically at that position, because we just saw him do it 2 off seasons ago with Jacobs, and when they signed him, it was kind of a 2-year deal where you have a good out. Now, I would anticipate right now as we're sitting here that Josh Jacobs is back.
Yes, betting favorite for sure.
They've got other position groups and difficult decisions to make, a la Elton Jenkins and Rashawn Gary, before they get to a Josh Jacobs thing. But if, say, Ken Walker was available in free agency, a Super Bowl MVP on the roster probably wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
Or Breece Hall from New York.
Yeah, I mean, Breece Hall is the one that's the apple in my eye.
Oh, really?
I mean, he physically and gifted-wise, measurables and speed and explosiveness, that would be a lot of fun. The only problem is everyone else knows that about him, too. The thing that, and the Packers don't love these guys, is he's been a little bit of an issue. He likes to talk a little bit, post on social media, and the Packers typically try and avoid those guys at like all costs. Mm-hmm. It's pretty few and far between where somebody who likes to hear them talk spends a lot of time in Green Bay or even ends up in Green Bay, mm-hmm. which you can say is probably one of their weak spots. Yeah. And a good head coach could tame that.
All right. We will get back to it on Wednesday, but I don't know. I think I'm still frustrated. I don't think you calm me down.
Well, yeah, I didn't think I was going to do that, to be quite honest.
You said you'll see how long it lasts, and we're 45 minutes in. I think it lasted.
Yeah, I meant like by Friday where we at.
Oh, yeah. I'll have full belief in Goody. No, yeah. I mean, again, it's not like I think these guys suck.
No.
I just don't know how great they are.
No, there's the difference makers aren't the difference. The guys that had opportunity to be big-time contributors have yet to be.
Right.
Could 2026 be the year it falls into place and they find a cornerstone?
Fingers crossed, baby.
Christian Watson elevates to like a top 12 wide receiver in the NFL. Matthew Golden is like a guy we thought he could be. That could all. Edgerrin Cooper takes a step forward and he's in the conversation with guys like Fred Warner. Then immediately you're like, whoa, big step. Yeah, I mean, he's like by far and away the best at his position, so that it was a sort of unfair comparison. But
yes, that's fair.
If LVN becomes a 12-sack guy, then you're going, well, Goody might have did something here. I wish it would have happened, I don't know, 2 years ago. But
hey, here it is. The Brewers know football season has come to an end, so they wanted a Monday morning headline. They make a trade this morning with the Boston Red Sox. Third baseman Caleb Durbin sent to Boston along with infielder Anthony Seigler and infielder Andruw Monasterio. Those are your 3 guys who played third base last year, all 3 of them in this trade, heading to Boston in exchange for left-handed pitcher Kyle Harrison, left-handed pitcher Shane Drohan, and infielder David Hamilton. Can you play third base?
Can I?
Yeah.
Not a hot corner guy.
Got it.
A little scary over there.
I agree. That's a long throw, too. It's a long throw.
Yeah, which Caleb had issues with.
So 2 things here. I don't know much about the guys they got in return, frankly, right? No. Caleb Durbin was a really old rookie. As was, Isaac Collins was an older rookie, and while both of them I thought made awesome contributions to a magical season in 2025, they're both traded for assets this offseason.
All you need to know about my opinion of Caleb Durbin is I was wishing he would be replaced since the trade deadline.
There's your opinion on Caleb Durbin.
Yeah.
Now, but here's the issue, Josh, is the replacement just going to be Joey Ortiz again?
I think it's Jet.
Well, Jet, is he going to play third or is he going to play short? And then they move Joey to third.
Maybe. However they figure it out, whoever does the best.
But I guess I don't know anything about Jet other than he has a sick-ass name. And
he's short.
And he's a highly touted prospect. Right? He's viewed as a good up-and-coming player that they got, obviously, in the Freddie Peralta trade.
He's short. That's important.
Is it?
The Brewers have the exclusive rights to every short guy.
Yeah, they love short guys. I don't see the vision for the plan yet, but again, it's the Brewers, so you automatically have to have faith that Matt Arnold knows what the heck he's doing here.
And I understand it. I don't know how much of a difference having Caleb Durbin on this roster for a full 162 games is going to provide to the Brewers. I think he's fine enough. He does his job. Is there a possibility to upgrade? Yes. I was honestly kind of shocked the degree at which the Red Sox valued Caleb Durbin.
They needed a third baseman.
They did. But, I mean, they gave up guys who are, they gave up prospects that aren't just, like afterthoughts.
Yeah.
It's what was it, like the top 15, one of the top 15 guys in their organization? To me, if I would have been like, oh, are you sure they're going to accept it for that price? Because Caleb Durbin, I think we know what he is. He's a fine hitter, not impressive, not particularly impressive on the defensive side.
He's a fun story. He's a former Fond du Lac dock spider.
Yeah, but he's not going to be the difference between wins and losses in the playoffs. That's just not who he is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And the Brewers infield, I don't know what the heck they're going to do with. They've got 40 guys that are in the MLB and then in the system that all play 2 or 3 positions.
So let's just go through opening day lineup. First base we assume is Andruw.
Yeah.
Second base, obviously, Bryce Turang.
Yeah.
That's where I get caught up. So let's pause for a moment. Contreras is your catcher.
Yeah.
Your outfield is Chourio, Frelick, not necessarily in this order.
Right.
And
you'd love it to be Garrett
Mitchell, right?
I don't know if that's going to happen.
I think he's healthy, but this is
him being healthy makes him just closer to unhealthy at this point in his career.
Unfortunately, because he's a really good player, and obviously you want him to be healthy. He is going to spring training, so I guess we will see what the early returns are on him when pitchers and catchers, and obviously everybody else reports here in the next week. But I would assume it's those three. Yelich is DHing.
Yep.
Joey's probably one of those two spots in the left side of the infield.
Yeah, and it's Jet. That guy's playing.
You think?
I don't know how you make the move you made and then not
Jesus isn't ready.
No. Even though I bet you could probably argue he's so talented he might just be.
Correct.
But you don't want to risk ruining him.
Right. You don't want to stun his growth. Is Tyler Black in the mix? That's where my head goes. Is there a free agency signing coming that we aren't aware of?
I wouldn't hold my breath.
I wouldn't either. It is the Milwaukee Brewers we're talking about after all.
Yeah.
They're not going out.
Could they get some veteran util guy? Sure. It seems like they're probably going to need some of that, giving up basically their entire bench.
Yeah.
I'm not losing sleep over any of these 3 guys missing. What they decide to do, here's the one thing. As much as I question the investment the Mark Adanasio makes, I don't question Matt Arnold, and I don't question their scouting, and I don't question Pat Murphy. I believe they'll be able to figure it out, and I believe they have an answer. We might not know it yet. We're just some peons on the radio trying to figure it out, piece it together.
We are just a couple of peons.
But I don't think it's any significant change, nor do I think it's going to be something we're looking at and going, man, I wish Caleb Durbin was here. I can't see that being part of the conversation.
No, I agree with you on that. Although, you look at Andruw Monasterio and you go, oh, man, he had a great moment in the postseason.
Uh-huh.
A couple great moments this year, actually. He was the most unlikely hero a few times. So, yeah, you missed that. And when you reflect on what a unbelievably fun year it was last year for the Brewers, you see now several of those pieces that had those holy bleep moments are gone, right? Isaac Collins is another one who they traded. Freddie is gone. Now, Caleb Durbin and Andruw Monasterio are gone. I don't know that I have much memories of Anthony Seigler that I will be losing sleep over.
Except for asking, who the hell is this guy and why is he starting?
Yeah, right. A couple of those moments last year, but hey, they usually worked, which was the
right. And I'm not going to lament the big moments because I think a lot of those moments were more opportunity than like specific talent.
Yeah. So again, I will say I'm never going to doubt Matt Arnold.
Nope. As is currently stated, he's beyond reproach.
Yes.
He's proven we should trust him.
Correct.
Now, do I like all the things or the limitations he's dictated? No, I don't. But it ain't a Matt Arnold issue. No. That I can say for certain.
No, but
when it comes to singular person you believe in all Wisconsin sports,
it's him and Pat Murphy. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I've probably thrown in like Jordan Love in terms of like if we're throwing in athletes as well. Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Those guys are all in the top 5 of people who I trust in Wisconsin sports. Is Greg Gard get in there? Does he wiggle his way in?
Giannis? You lost trust in Giannis?
Yeah, after he became owner of Kelce, he sure did.
Yeah, that's an odd one.
Odd.
Legal, somehow.
I don't know how.
I don't either. And that's Giannis talk on Mr. Irrelevant. All right, time now for what we missed, what we learned. I don't have any words, despite being in the will seat. Reproach was the closest we got, but I do know what that means.
Why don't you try and define reproach just top ahead?
I would say like questioning, right? Would you say beyond reproach?
Yes.
He doesn't deserve to be questioned effectively is what that means.
Defined here as a verb address someone in such a way to express disapproval or disappointment.
Sure. That makes a lot of sense.
Yep.
Okay. Very good. The one thing we did miss was all the Giannis announcements. He's also an investor now in the Women's Chelsea Club. The Olympics started. Have you watched any?
Nope.
I watched some figure skating dancing over the weekend.
I saw a guy do a backflip and land on one foot.
Yes.
The backflip's back.
Yeah, Benson Boone single-handedly brought the backflip back, brother.
I was actually applying it to the sport in specific. It was a banned move until recently.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Benson Boone.
I saw him, and man, did that ruin my day.
Bad Bunny, what'd you think?
I thought it was a good performance. I thought visually, in terms of putting on a show, it was good.
Awesome, man.
I was fascinated that there was people dressed as, I was like, how the hell did they get all those trees out there?
Yeah.
And then I saw them wiggle off the field, which was a very funny video to watch.
Wait, so you didn't realize it because when they were showing a preview, you could see them moving.
Yeah,
so you must have missed that.
Yes, I was in. We had someone over. There was a lot of cooking going in my house, and as the guy who does all the dishes, I took that time to start one and get the other. Like I was busy, so I came back as the music started, and that's where my confusion led into that.
Yeah, I thought it was a fun production. I'm really not familiar with Bad Bunny. I'm most familiar with him as a WWE wrestler, which he did for a little bit.
I think a lot of people are making judgments on it based on nothing to do with what actually took place.
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Put it this way, I wouldn't go out of my way to see a Bad Bunny concert, but nor would I be upset with what I watched.
Right.
Like if someone said, "Hey, I got a Bad Bunny ticket," I go, "Well, why the hell not?" It's like when I went to Taylor Swift.
Right, not necessarily for you, but it's kind of a phenomenon. He's the number one street artist in the world. So
there's something here.
It was interesting to me, and I really thought it was just the production was massive. And did you see in the middle of that there was a marriage that was real?
I had a feeling it might be.
Married.
Yeah, I mean that's how marriages work. So if you have an ordained minister,
apparently, and I haven't confirmed the story, but the story that I read was. So this couple had been engaged, and they invited Bad Bunny to their wedding. And in response, Bad Bunny said,
"Why don't you come to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, why don't you come get married at my Super Bowl halftime show?" Pretty badass. That's fun.
Yeah.
So that was enjoyable. But anyway, all right. Well, that was halftime talk. Good for us. What else did we miss over the weekend? Hall of Fame thing was already out, right? That happened Thursday.
The other thing we missed is Bill Belichick's girlfriend wearing a T-shirt.
The Robert Kraft salon T-shirt. Crazy.
Yeah, that to me is, remember one of his most common refrains and the things he would always harp on? Don't be a distraction. Brother, that's all you've become.
Well, that's what she's become for him.
Well, he knew what that shirt was.
But he has become a little bit of a sideshow, more so than the Hall of Fame. Well,
and I don't like the degree to which people take humor in what happened there.
Fair.
I don't find that very funny.
Well, I think Drohan does.
Right, and I think that's wrong. And I think there's a lot of things currently in the news cycle where people are making a joke, and I don't think it's funny.
Yeah. Dave chimes in, next year's Super Bowl is on Valentine's Day. How many proposals will happen at the game? I don't think as many as you think because it's so corporate.
It's so corporate, yeah.
Now, how many proposals will happen during the Super Bowl at like a tavern or a restaurant that's showing the game? I mean, that number
I'm just thinking of somebody watching the Super Bowl for a team they don't even necessarily care about proposing at a dive bar, getting on their knee on this beer-soaked floor.
You want to go to a dive bar next Valentine's Day for the Super Bowl? Because I guarantee it'll happen. Guarantee it.
Well, wherever it is, I want to see it. So if you're going to do that, tell me.
Okay, we'll do. I don't think I will, but I'm not ruling it out. Not ruling it out. Especially Valentine's Day, Day of Love, Jordan Love. I mean, could be the Packers here. Just saying. All right, that's going to do it for us today. We're back with you Wednesday. Hopefully less issues on YouTube on Wednesday. Will and Hunter will return with us as we get deeper into the NFL offseason. More Packers talk and all the in-betweens. That's coming up Wednesday, beginning at 12:30 Central, ESPN Madison, ESPN Milwaukee on YouTube. And, of course, wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the ESPN Wisconsin app, in the Mr. Irrelevant feed. Just search Mr. Irrelevant. Will be the first result that pops up. We will talk to you on Wednesday. Peace.